Right. Again, we're doing relatives also tonight, and uh, there's going to be a time that I'm going to ask responses from those of you that are tuned in. So we'll just get the first slide that we have is biblical roles of a husband, and we're starting off with the family. The hub of any society is the family. We have strong families, we have strong communities, and strong communities make strong suburbs or towns. So let's start with the husband, who is to be the head of the house. And we notice that in the first point there is that he must be the protector. And we read that in Ephesians 5, verses 25 to 29. If I read it, it is as follows. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify her, that is not the church, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church. And from there we can learn that the church is here, can we say, compared to a marriage, a husband and wife. And so we know that the church is the bride and Christ is the husband. And so we find that God, the husband must love his wife just as Christ also loved the church. The stress is also in Ephesians 5, verse 25, that husbands, love your wives as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for it. The third point is he should love God more than his wife. Now, 1 John 4 and verses 7 says, Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. So we see there then that the criteria, the character of love is that love is from God. And so in the same way, we also need to transfer that love that we have for God to our wives, because we have been born of God and we need to know God because he is the source of love. And also, he must be the leader of the home. 1 Timothy 3 and verses 5. For if someone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he care for God's church? And now we notice in the first part, Ephesians 5, 25 to 29, we saw how precious the church was and what God, the portrait that we have of the church. And therefore, it's on the husband to be the leader of the house. because it says here, how can he manage his own, if he does not know how to manage his own household, how will he take care of the church? And so all this has been given in the charge of the husband or the man of the house. Then we find that he should be the provider. It is expected or required of the man or the husband that he should be the provider. If 1 Timothy 5 and verses 8. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So we find here that this is a great responsibility on the husband, that he should be the provider, especially for his house, especially for the responsibility that he has taken upon himself when he said, I do, when he committed himself to take care of, to go into marriage with a lady. And he said, I do, because he is going to be the protector, he's going to love, he is going to transfer the same amount of love as what God gave to the church, that he also needs to transfer. And he should be the leader of the home. And he should be the provider, because we take good care of our homes, because it's a reflection on me, the husband, if the house lacks. And if we does not do that, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Now, what can be worse than an unbeliever? One that is an idol worshiper. He still believes. He believes in that figure that is in front of him. I almost want to say, if he's an atheist, then he can still say, I don't believe in God. That makes him a believer of some kind. But if you are an unbeliever, you does not recognize God, you does not recognize Jesus, you have disregard for the law, even for the law of Moses, you even have a disregard for the gospel of Christ. So this is the responsibility of the roles that the husband needs to. He needs to clothe himself with all this. A godly wife, find that a godly wife, she loves God above all things. She loves her husband and children. She shows self-control. And self-control is part of the fruit of the Spirit. It's the last one in the New American Standard. It would say self-control. She is the keeper of the home. She is a servant. She knows how to be subservient. She is grateful. She's grateful because she's got a wonderful husband that takes care of her. She is modest. She doesn't she's modest in a manner so she do not bring any extra burdens to the house. She is kind. That means she loves everybody that comes into her house. She is submissive. That's what the Bible requires. Wives, be submissive to your husband. She is obedient. And in all this, we can see she is an obedient person. And as I went through this, I realized that when it comes to the husband, it says, we've been reading Ephesians 5 and 25 and all that. It seems like that is all commandments. Husband, you must love your wife. You see? Husbands, love your wives as your own bodies. It's all like it's commanded to a man. But when I read here a godly wife, then it seems she takes it upon herself. She's a God-fearing woman. You do not need to tell her. She fits into this responsibility like a hand into a glove because she loves God above all things. And if that is number one, then all other things just flows on. We have here always they were in a triangle. They will show when we see here, they say, we see God is at the top. We see a husband and wife down here. When further from God, the distance between husband and wife is greater. So that is your base plane here at the bottom. And you can see the distance here compared to the pinnacle up here. There's hardly any um, distance up here. But when you are further from God, when the husband and the wife is further from God, then also the husband and wife is further from each other. Sorry. But when closer to God, the husband and wife will be closer to each other. Look at the distance, compare the distance. Further from God, they further away from each other. Here we find up here, they are nearer to God and they are even nearer to themselves. So the love, because when they are here, they are in the source of love and they can even maybe even get closer to God. There will be no difference. They will be completely one, if I have to put it. Therefore, the Bible says that the husband will leave his parents, he will cleave unto his wife, and they will be one. So in this diagram, we find endeavor to be nearer to God. If you are both husband and wife is nearer to God, then they are also nearer to each other. Wow. Yeah, I can ask, how do you sum up this? Anyone that want to participate, how do you sum up this scene here?
Honey, I love you so much.
The expression doesn't say that. What do you say? Oh, that body. Rhoda says the body language doesn't express that. Any other one?
Oor-Friesland praat praat
Oh,
stuur.
hulle wil vuislaan.
Dit lyk so ja.
Oh,
Ek
yes.
dink Paul is verkeerd daar.
maybe if you read into it, that's how he shows love. Just as the head is, don't you know I love you? Okay.
I would
Yeah.
say, I'm tired of you. I'm tired of you.
EJ, okay? So that is the expression of I'm tired of you. All right. I'm glad for your participation. You know, I look at it and I say, he's a shouting husband. He's showing an act of domineering. And what does the Bible teach us in 1 Peter 3 and verses 7? It says that they are the weaker vessel. If I just read it, they say, you husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way, as with someone weaker, since she is a woman, and show her honor as a fellow heir of the grace of life, so that your prayers will not be hindered. So he does not regard his wife, and I think he's more to the bottom of that triangle, and he's pushing her aside instead of, here we have a happy couple. And here a demonstration of, look at me, we are in love, we are happy, we do not shout at each other, we take care of one another. Well, what can we say about this picture?
The family that prays together stays together.
And, all right, is there others that would like to also comment on this picture? Look there. If you look pretty well, you can see there's a grandfather and a grandmother. There's a father, there's a mother, and then there is the offsprings. All right? Paul said, anyone else want to say something? Okay.
I've looked pretty well. It looks like the family's happy together.
The family's happy together.
Yeah,
So
bro.
Aye?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there must be a reason why you see such a happy family.
They're laughing, brother. Because
Yeah,
I see the teeth.
yeah, well, they are laughing. They are demonstrating happiness. They are demonstrating a unity, and that they are all together as one happy family. Genesis 18 and verses 19 says, "For I have chosen him," that is now for Abram, "so that he may command his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring upon Abram what he has spoken about him." So the command is that he says that he will keep his household after him in the way of the Lord. Any comments on this? Anyone have to say? All right, you see, it's a family praying.
Yeah, the family that prays together. There we go.
But the same, the family that prays. But what can we see about this family and this picture? Are they at home? They're not.
They're holding hands while they're praying. She shows love. And they're not at home. They're on a picnic.
The picnic. So what does it demonstrate to? E.G., you wanted to say something, I think?
I would say it's like a blessed family.
Yeah, it is. What we find here is we had now the picture before this is where you see a happy family together, and you see the grandfather and the children. There's now 3 generations there, and you see here this family sitting together in a picnic scene. And you must congratulate, or you must say they're brave, or you can say they're not shy. They are prepared to, even in public, let's put it like that, in public, to honor God before they partake of their food. And so they give honor to God for blessing them as a family, so that they can be out there in the open. Think about it. How many families does that? When they're in the open, then God is somewhere in the back pocket or so. They only take him out when they get home, where nobody can see them. This is a demonstration that relatives need not to be shy, but to honor God whenever they have a chance to do so. All right. Got another picture. Any comments?
That's an angry husband.
All right. Thank you, husband. Look at the whole picture.
Looks to me like child abuse.
Okay, it's another part of it. That looks like child abuse. The angry husband looks like child abuse. So what's the mother doing?
Protecting her child.
He's protecting a child. So what does look, punishment must be there. But what's wrong with this punishment? And that is why the wife is protecting the child, because the husband is in a rage. He's not fit to punish the child, because he can hurt the child. He's abusive, and it's for that reason that the mother is shielding the child from the husband, teaching us that the Bible is clear on it, and Paul does say, do not know that God also punishes us when we do. He says, we have our earthly fathers that punishes us. So why would God also not punish us? But this is not the state to punish a child, not when you are in the right. Maybe you came with a bad temper from work. Maybe the car don't want to start. Anything could have enraged him like this. And it's for that reason, for me and you to learn, when you want to punish, do it in a manner of love, not giving the devil a foothold in your life. Again, maybe he's not on the same level as the wife, and she's a very wise woman. What's wrong with this picture? Is there anything wrong with this picture? We're talking about relationships.
A lazy husband.
Right? The lazy husband. Where's the woman? Paul, how do you read this one?
Uncle Stephen,
Yeah? Peter?
yes, there then shows the man of the house who is a boss, and being a boss of the house, so he cannot do anything. He leaves everything to a woman, to his wife, which is not supposed to be like that.
So you do not applaud him as the home of the boss of the house.
No,
But why do you not applaud him?
because the way it is here, he has to take responsibility, like he has to help, because here
Right.
the wife is taking care of a child. At the same time, she is cleaning, and the husband is just there seated, playing on the phone. So it doesn't look all right. He is supposed to do something, like maybe carry a baby, or if not carrying a baby, at least do the cleaning himself.
Right. Well, you good summing up, brother. That he is sitting there, he can do one of two things. He can help put that phone down and relieve the wife of the baby if he doesn't want to do the vacuuming, or he can do the vacuum himself. He can be a help meet for the wife. He's irresponsible that the wife must do those two things at the same time. All right. This is not very good relationship here. What we find here, we can see again there's a cell phone. What do you think is the husband telling the woman here, the wife? Where's my food?
Yeah, I was just going to say, maybe he's looking for his supper and she's on the phone.
You see? So this is what happened. She got carried away with the phone, and here the husband is coming home, and she's not even there to greet him at the door. Or he doesn't even smell food. Nothing is prepared for him, and that is why he seems to be annoyed. All right?
Well, I think she's made food. Look, there's some apples on the table. That's his supper. She's too busy with the phone.
Because I have an apple a day and keep the doctor away. All right.
I think, Uncle Stephen, the wife says, "You haven't brushed your teeth this morning."
I didn't prepare for you. All right. What do we find here? The husband and wife arguing
in front of the child.
in front of the child. Is that a good thing?
No, I think
Seemingly
that one
not.
of the worst things ever that parents can do is, sorry, Victor, is to do this with their children. Oh Lord, it destroys the children's lives, and eventually the children will start misbehaving. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have no respect for one another, this husband and wife.
Yeah, this is what this picture is there for. Is a husband and wife, and they're arguing in front of the child. It can upset that child because they get rid of their emotions, and it can be it's harmful for the child. So never argue before in front of a child. Rather go once and go into the bedroom, and there in a very nice way uh, uh, um, get rid of your frustrations.
Well, Stephen, I
So,
think, can we go back to the previous picture, please, Ben? I think that, it is healthy for children to see that parents disagree. We can disagree in a good way, where it's not destructive and shouting and screaming. Our children learn how to negotiate by observing mom and dad coming to terms and agreeing on something, and after the argument, making up. They will recognize that that's not the end of the world. They will recognize that this is all people from time to time will disagree, but there's a healthy way and an unhealthy way of disagreeing.
correct? So that's why I'm going after this one. That one, the one that you, all right, here we don't have the child. But does this benefit anyone? Because who's listening? You see? So here I can say the child has been put one side, but this isn't helping anyone here. Because who is listening? The best means of communication, as Brother Paul just said, is the child can learn. When the husband comes in and he's got a point to address the wife, and then the wife gets a chance to respond to his accusation or his dilemma. And the two of them can, one-to-one, one listening and one answering and so on, the child can then see, all right, I'm sorry, honey, I was wrong. You see? And they hug each other and everything is then back to normal. But this is not healthy when everybody is venting themselves, and maybe those little lightnings that you see here, I create an indication it's a little bit of Greek language that is going there in between. All right.
Stephen,
Yes, Bella.
I had a beautiful husband that used to write me a letter. He would chew on the cud and he would write me a letter if he was unhappy about my behavior. And that's a very powerful way of communication. It's not confrontational. It is something that you read and you read and you read it again. And it makes a lot of sense most of the times. And then you can discuss it as adults. Thanks.
That is usually what you learn in counseling also. You write down and the others can respond also in the writing, because it's not words. After an argument, people will say, what have I said? Because no tape recorder was running. And hurtful things were said or so. But when you write it down and the other person can read it, he can go back and forth, reading and so on, and find the depth. That's a very good. Thank you, Bella. All right, all the arguments passed. What do we find now? You see, we must always have quality time. Quality time and do things that has the interest of all. I don't know, maybe they're looking at the pictures. Maybe they're looking at these new albums that you put a memory stick in, and then you have all the pictures coming up and so on. And here we find this family getting quality time, sitting together, and they are perusing through something that is captivating. And you can see they are well pleased, and they are happy, and they are understanding. Any comments?
Seems like they are busy. I don't know if they are holding the Bible, but it's the family that's reading together.
Could somebody translate to me? I could barely hear.
Brother Barney, we couldn't hear you.
I'm saying I don't know if they are holding a Bible, but it seems like it's a family that come together for reading.
Yes. We find that I take it is the Bible that is there. And we can see here that the father is taking the initiative with the wife and with the son, and to read in the Bible. This is something that must be instrumental. It should sort of be compulsory. It should not be skipped. It should be, as the child grows up, he knows that the book was always at hand so that he can get spiritual instruction. What can we say? Yeah. Yeah.
Ini chinonzi iri kuramba because havachinje kunhwawo ngavanoripa indeni chinozondini.
I do not know that language. All right, what do we say about this picture?
I think it appears as if the children, the two little ones, are entertaining the adults, and I think that's good for that every now and then that the children would see that the adults are interested in their doing things, and we can see how there's a listening and there's a sharing. We can see here where there's an inclusive situation. Nobody is exclusive.
Well, that's another way of looking at it. I looked at it at this way. I think it seems like it's the grandfather that is having the book. His children is there, and his grandchildren is there. And he's taking that lead so that the grandchildren also can be brought up in the way that they should go. And maybe this is something that is lacking today in many households, that the book is on the shelf and collecting dust, and it's not so prominent in family life or amongst relatives today. So what I also read in here is if grandfather and grandmother is with it, and mommy and daddy does not find it offensive or disliking, then the children will hoe dan sê hulle, na-aap in English, imitate. They will imitate and they will look forward and they will sort of know that this is what always when we go to grandpa and grandma, we find that he is the instructor of life using the book. And so we need to emphasize this as relatives amongst each other. All right. You almost finished? What do we say here? You see 4 little kids. They're sitting in the pew and they seem happy to be there. Why do they seem happy to be there? Because that is the way that they have been brought up. This is the way with Proverbs teaches us. Let me just see where it is. Proverbs 20. Proverbs 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he or she should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. These are scenes that we grew up with. And it's nice to see that we have nice to see that Sunday mornings we have so many children in the church. As long as children come to church, we must nourish them. We must not be a hinder, a hinderness. We must not be the ones that makes life unbearable for them. We must not be the ones that say, I'm not going to church because there's too much aunts that want to, or people that want to pull our ears or so or whatever. We must treat them kindly. We must treat them wisely. We must show them appreciation because that is the way we find. I mean, look at the youth camp that was just passed. I remember Uncle Paul was so excited, not excited, so impressed with being there at the youth. I'm thinking of, I always bring a girl to the youth, and usually there's not much talking going on. It's just just because I don't want it to be so quiet, I would ask, how is school? How is this? How is that? And it's just yes or no, yes and no. And when that girl came from the youth camp, all the way even up till today, her whole attitude has changed. I asked Andrew's mother, and Andrew also went through the waters of baptism after coming from the camp. I asked the mother, and the mother said, when it was a big difference when Andrew came back from the camp, he couldn't stop talking. And we saw also the culmination of that we had a couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago, we had 6 or 7, and Sunday past, we had 8 baptism, all the results of church that's taking care of the youth, and it was worth to sow the seeds of kindness, because this is the result that we want. This is the result that we want, that they obey so that they can go through the waters of baptism, and so they can become that new creature in Christ, as the 2 Corinthians 5 and verses 17. Let's read it. 2 Corinthians 5 and 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creature. The old things passed away. Behold, new things have come. That is why we have October, fantastic October. We had friends. We just had relatives. It's the importance so that we can be reminded about our duty as those that do not want to be the only ones to inherit the kingdom, but to pass it on. Thank you, church, for your attendance tonight. Thank you for those that commented and participated. I thank you and I bless that we have, as we continue in this October month, we will still reap more and more blessings. Any